So probably going to start in about 30 seconds. Good evening everybody and welcome to the Scrutiny Committee, and how lovely it is to see everybody in person after such a long time away, and what a lovely venue. We couldn't have chosen a better one really, steeped in history, and lovely to be here for the Scrutiny Committee. Welcome to new councillors, welcome. This will be the first Scrutiny Committee. I hope you enjoy the presentations and have lots of questions to ask. The agenda is as follows, and I'll just go through it now. So, first of all, it's apologies, and we've got quite a few though. Michelle?
Yes, Chair, we've got apologies from councillors Newby, Buswell, Denning, Branston and Kevin Mitchell.
Thank you very much. The next item is item number 3, which is declaration of interest. So, as ever, if any members have any disclosable pecuniary interests that relate to business on the agenda and have not already been included on the register of interests, they should declare them before any discussion takes place. Item number 4 is the exclusion of the press and public. We have no part 2 items this evening, so we can go straight to item number 5. But before I do that, I should have done the house rules bits. There's no planned fire alarms this evening. And you may remove your mask when you are seated. Please ensure your microphone is on. It's quite an echoey building, so it's quite hard to hear without a microphone. So if you are speaking, please use your microphone. And we'll go from there. So item number 5 is questions from the public, understanding order 19. And we have Peter Cleesby here to ask a question. So if I can invite Mr. Cleesby to come to the lectern, please. And Mr. Cleesby, you've done this before, so just to answer your question, and then have an answer, and then an opportunity for a supplementary question if you wish.
Thank you very much, Chair. I've never done this with such a grand podium before. Will the relevant portfolio holder please explain the extent to which assessments of the embodied carbon emissions from new developments, including emissions from prior demolition of properties on the development site, are taken into account when determining planning applications?
Thank you very much. I believe that Councillor Morse will be answering the question.
I will. Thank you, Chair. At present, no assessment is made of embodied carbon emissions when determining planning applications. The Council does not have a development plan policy relating to this area of assessment, and there is no national planning policy requirement to do so. There is also no national planning policy guidance relating to this type of assessment. However, the other councils are beginning to look at work considering such assessments, and we will also explore this what is possible through the developing of our forthcoming local plan, learning from other councils and emerging work. The Council is committed to achieving net zero and will therefore strive to develop the most appropriate and robust policy through which it assesses and determines future applications for their compatibility with the City's ambitious net zero commitment.
Thank you, Councillor. Do you have a supplementary question?
A brief one, yes. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor. That's very helpful. Is there any recognition, bearing in mind that embodied carbon can consume up to 75% of a building's lifetime carbon emissions, is there any recognition that this is going to push back or make difficult to achieve the net zero Exeter 2030 targets once these are taken into account, accepting that they might not be taken into account until 2024 once the local plans are in place?
I don't have an answer for you on that at the moment, but I will get one and a written reply sent to you, Mr. Casey.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Cleese. Really nice to see the public questions being used, and it's great to have you here. Thank you very much. I'm actually going to go back. Sorry, I forgot to sign the minutes for the last meeting. So if I go to item number 2, are there any comments or alterations need to be made to the minutes of the meeting held on the 18th of March? I'm aware we only have a handful of councillors that can approve them because you have to have been here. In that case, then, all those members that were here on the 18th of March, or virtually, are you happy to me to sign this as a true and accurate record? Is it just me? And yeah, Councillor Moore, I think it was. No? That's fine, there's 2 of us. Okay, thank you. We go to item number 6, which is questions from members of the council. And we have some questions from Councillor Jemima Moore. So you can stay where you are there. If you want to go to the left end, you can. But please stay where you are. And as ever, read your question, and then we get an opportunity for us to questions after.
Thank you. Can the portfolio holder please update us on the progress of the Exeter Living Clifton Hill development? Please can we be informed of the reasons for the delays to the planned timescale? In particular, when is it likely that the removal of the sports centre will now commence? The presence of the building, which is now dilapidated and covered in graffiti, is creating a hidden area which is being utilised for drug use, drug dealing and other antisocial behaviour. There's a very real risk of someone coming to harm, with reports from residents that people are entering the building and also climbing up onto the roof.
Thank you, Councillor. I believe Councillor Byler will answer that question.
Thank you, Chair. The programme for Clifton Hill indicates an anticipated start on site in December 2021, January 2022, which is when the demolition works will commence. Our development programme for the sale is slipped as a consequence of a number of factors, predominantly as a result of the delayed planning application for the development. The original timeline for the development indicated the application going to planning committee in September of last year, but this was not possible until December of last year due to last-minute consultation issues and amendments to the application drawings to reflect this. This included providing access from the rear gardens of Portland Street onto the new development, securing as many existing trees on the site for retention and increasing the garden sizes on some of the new homes, and as a consequence, reducing the number of overall homes on the site from 43 to 41. We had hoped to have started demolition works last autumn 2020, but this was not possible due to planning and consequential impact. This had to be our procurement timetable for appointing a contractor. Whilst we are currently in the process of tendering the works, this has been delayed due to the impact of COVID, and in any case we would have not been able to commence development until outside the bird nesting season post-September. We are procuring the works through a 2-stage tender, which means our preferred contractor will be determined by July of this year, and they will have 4 months to reach an acceptable contract sum ahead of entering into contract. Current price uncertainties and the lack of available materials in the UK as a consequence of Brexit and COVID-19 is causing a challenge for all development in the UK at the present time, and this places further pressure on project timelines. Exeter City Living are taking all measures they can to mitigate these challenges, but there are limitations to what Exeter City Living can do, given that this is an industry-wide problem. Once we commence on-site, the former leisure centre will be demolished and construction work will start in earnest. Our current programme indicates that the development will be completed by the summer of 2024. It is appreciated that this is not ideal, that the development is delayed, as this impacts on many stakeholders, including the local community. We have checked the site security and the current temporary fencing arrangement as arranged by the council, which we believe gives adequate security. However, should any residents witness unauthorised entry to the sports centre, we hope they will report the incident to the police. The council do have a private security company engaged in the patrol to patrol the site on a regular basis, and it is hoped that this will act as a deterrent to prevent ongoing unlawful entry into the site. And just to add, Chair, I too am concerned at the delay, and I can assure you that I have been on to the directors on a regular basis to make sure this happens, even volunteering to drive the bulldozer when it becomes available. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Barley. Councillor Moore.
Thank
you have a supplementary question?
Not particularly to say thank you to the leader for that update. I wonder if there's something that can be done, if it's going to be another 6 months at least before the demolition, just to make the area look less inhospitable, because at the moment there's mass graffiti saying drugs across. It doesn't particularly make the community of Newtown feel welcoming or safe place. So it might just be some boarding or something that we can do to make it look a little bit more hopeful and a little bit of a nice place to live.
Chair, just to say, I totally share that. I will discuss with the directors and the team responsible to do as much as we can behind that. Look, the council forego quite a large capital receipt by doing what we're doing in order to maintain the space at the rear of the Clifton Hill site for the use of the community and their enjoyment. The last thing I want to see is it not being used after we've done all of that, so I can assure you we will do whatever we can within our powers to make some improvements.
Thank you, Councillor Barley. Can Councillor Moore for your question? We now have 2 questions from Councillor Vizard. So if that's start with your first one, Councillor Vizard.
Thank you, Chair. Please could the appropriate portfolio holder, director or officer provide some information on how regularly the council identifies cases and applies the Article 4 direction, which restricts permitted development rights to convert properties into houses of multiple occupation, HMOs, in areas that fall within this zone.
Thank you very much. And I believe Councillor Morse is answering this question.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for this question. For clarity, I've understood the question to be asking how often the Council identifies cases where the necessary permissions have not been secured in order to permit conversion into an HMO within Article 4 area. Owing to limited resources, the Council is not able to undertake regular or proactive compliance monitoring in relation with the Article 4 directive area. However, the Council has historically received members of the public regarding HMOs within the Article 4 area, including situations where members of the public suspect that a property is being used as an HMO without the necessary permissions. The number of such complaints is, however, very low, there being only 2 in 2017 and 1 in 2018 and none since then. Such complaints should then be investigated.
Do you have a supplementary question?
Thank you, Grant. That was very helpful, actually. Yes, you certainly answered my question the way it was intended. Just briefly, I don't know whether there's any public information available on our website about reporting concerns, but may I just ask if that could be looked at, if there's somewhere we can point people to if they do have concerns about development in their area. That would be great. Thank you.
Interestingly, this conversation we've had earlier in the week regarding HMOs and Article 4 areas, so we're already looking into the matter.
Your second question, Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Chair. What is the likelihood of HMO conversions in the Article 4 area slipping through the net? And how is the success of this restriction being measured in terms of preventing a further loss of residential character and of family homes to HMOs?
Again, I move this Councillor Moore to respond.
We measure the success of the Article 4 direction based on the number of HMOs within the Article 4 area. Specifically, we look at changes to the overall number of percentage of HMOs in the Article 4 area since it was last amended in 2013. However, due to the reliance on complaints to know about breaches of the restrictive policy and the limited capacity for additional monitoring and enforcement of the Article 4 restrictions, We do not have any data on the impact on residential character. Further work is underway on this at the moment, and more information will be available in due course.
Councillor Isard, do you have a supplementary question?
Thank you, no supplementary. Thank you for the answer.
Thank you very much. Well, we now have a presentation, which is really nice. We're getting into the flow of having more presentations and scrutiny. I think it's a really good opportunity for members to hear what groups in the city are doing and contributing to. There's nothing to vote on necessarily here. It's just to listen and to question anything you do. We have Glenn Woodcock here, who's the co-founder of the Southwest Food Hub, who will do a presentation. But we have Councillor Rachel Sutton here, who's a relevant portfolio holder, and Victoria Hatfield to help with any other questions. But I know that Councillor Sutton is going to do a brief introduction before Glenn takes to the lectern. So, Councillor Sutton, over to you. Councillor Atkinson.
I just wanted to, it's not an interest as such, I just wanted people to know that I am a director of Exeter Food Action, which is a charity which is promoting collection and distribution of food waste.
Thank you.
And I've been doing it for 10 years. Thank you.
There's nothing else, so it's very interesting. Thank you, Councillor Atkinson. Councillor Sutton.
Thank you, Chair. And as I'm sure everyone here this evening, I'm very much looking forward to hearing Glenn Woodcock's presentation to us about the Southwest Food Hub. So I'd like to begin by welcoming Glenn to rather glorious Guildhall for this evening's meeting and thanking you for coming along this evening. My portfolio responsibility is for Net Zero Carbon 2030, but the City Council can't deliver net zero on its own, and we've been clear about that all along. We need the support of others within the city to deliver the Net Zero Exeter plan, and indeed our citizens to help us do that. And this evening, I understand that Glenn will be talking to us about the Southwest Food Hub, and how that directly relates to goal number 6 of the Net Zero Exeter plan. I'm sure you're all familiar with, but I'll just remind you that goal number 6 is about the importance of the city's relationship to the wider Devon economy and land management and the rural economy. We sit as the county city within a largely rural county. The Southwest Food Hub will give us a better understanding of local food and relationship to the land. And the intention is that this should inform retailing on our high streets and promote regional and local distinctiveness. The aspiration of the Southwest Food Hub is to have national brands that will celebrate local crafts and local produce. We want our high street, our shops, our hotels, our hospitals, our local military bases and even prisons to buy food that is grown within our county of Devon. And this is a good illustration of the work that's happening to support the net zero agenda and also a very strong example of the value of the collaboration that has been building up over recent years. So Glenn's work, as well as directors of Exeter City Futures, is also key. Exeter City Futures has taken the initiative to challenge ways of working, including the traditional ways that food is procured across the public sector. And by doing this, to reduce the carbon impact, but also address other goals around supporting the green economy. So welcome, Glenn, and I'm very much looking forward to hearing your presentation. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Councillor Sutton. So, Glenn, as Councillor, very warm welcome. It's your time to come take to the lectern, and we've got a presentation here which I think Sharon will click through. Have you got a clicker there? Excellent. Over to you. This works, okay. Yes. Right.
And actually, in a way, there's a very strong relationship to the question that Peter asked earlier to this presentation, because in starting to address the issues of reaching a sustainable, and I think net zero is just one of the questions we have to ask around what is a sustainable economy, because if you look at the climate, given us living in a world of a real time climate emergency, there are many things that we need to be thinking about. And it's not, it isn't just thinking therefore about solar panels and renewable energy and things like that. Every aspect of how we spend our money has an effect on the world, whether it's the materials we use to build our houses, or whether it's the food that we put on our own plates. And I think over the last 40 years, in a world of a globalising economy, we lost the connection between how we spend our money and the effect that it has on our surroundings. So that's the relationship that we have with the built environment. But essentially, the Southwest Food Hub has come about because of actually a series of kind of central government conversations which started off in 2014 with publication of a government consultation called the Plan for Public Procurement, which was beginning to ask that question about what public goods are provided by spending public money, whether that is money spent on building, whether it's money spent on infrastructure, or indeed whether it's money spent on food. In this country, we spend something like £1.2 billion from the public purse on food, whether that goes to schools, or to prisons, or to military bases. And as it stands, in general, that money is spent in a way which provides what you might call best value, i.e. cheapest possible food that we can supply. Unfortunately, in the world we live today, the cheapest possible food is likely to do the most damage to our environment, either through poor methods of animal husbandry, or through exploitation of other people's environments, or actually through bad treatment of our own soils. And we've got to the point now where the soils on English farms are deteriorating in a very drastic way because of the way we treat them with fertilisers and because of the types of crops that we grow, which are often feedstock crops for other animals, but also where we feed animals, for instance, cattle or pigs, not using local grass, but using feedstock that are imported from places like South America, we can actually be having, through our own food systems, really significant impacts on the Amazon rainforest. And we know about these sorts of things. So the question that comes about, what can we do to make sure that that £1.2 billion, instead of being a real negative to our own environment, the local environment, but it's something that shows that leadership is a positive impact. Obviously, that's started off with a statement in 2014. To actually make some progress on that is obviously quite tricky, otherwise we've done it already. At the same time, of course, it's in the context of the legal requirements of how you buy, and we're caught up a lot in what we think procurement law allows us to do and doesn't allow us to do. And then, in fact, buying habits of the individual procuring officers within each hospital, within each local authority, within each prison area. And those things all have to change. Now, if you were to sort of look forward and say, well, what would that look like? What would a really positive buying outcome from those organisations look like? And we could do a broad experiment and say, well, I think it might look like then buying seasonal food from local farmers that has been picked, and that seasonal food has been grown in a sustainable way. And that sounds like a good place to aim for. What it means in practice is a really big change to the way those procuring managers work. Because today, if you want to buy all the food for a hospital and be certain that it will arrive the next day, the easiest thing to do is to go to a globalised food supplier like Exeter or Bidfood and say, what I want is 20 boxes of carrots, you make this, and it arrives the next day without having to worry about also meets all the regulatory requirements which are stipulated in terms of food hygiene, in terms of food supply chain processes, in terms of refrigeration, all the other things that go with that. So do you want those buyers to be able to make a different decision? And in fact, there have been experiments done over the decades, people have attempted to buy more locally and to buy more sustainably, but what they find is they can't keep it up because it's too much work for the procuring manager to be phoning around and making sure they have got some carrots tomorrow because the person they went to last week hasn't got any this week. So, in fact, one of the things that's standing in the way of being able to, that £1.2 million being able to access local supply chains becomes a technical problem. So that's a rather long preamble to what we're trying to do now. The South West Food Hub was, so the next stage of that conversation was Crown Commercial Services, which is the commercial buying arm of the government. And things become pretty complicated pretty quickly. So in general, the Crown Commercial Services will often provide procurement services to other government institutions like the hospital or hospitals or local authorities. In fact, for food, most organisations don't use Crown Commercial Services commercial capabilities, but nevertheless, CCS has been tasked with coming up with a methodology that will allow the public purse to access local economy. So there's a multi-step process to being able to implement something that will allow these procuring managers to have different behaviour. The first step is to find some kind of technology which allows them, and these technologies exist in other sectors, would allow the procuring manager to set some policy preferences to say, I would like to have my carrots between these two prices, preferably from a local supplier. But if you can't get it from a local supplier, get it from somebody else. So they're not having to phone around and make sure they've got the carrots every day. In fact, the system takes care of that for them, but allows their policy preferences to be taken into account. So there's a technology process that you have to go through to select framework, but these technology providers today exist. The other thing you need to do is look at different approaches to logistics, because most of the globalised suppliers have their own supply chains pre-built, and all of their warehousing and distribution is built around their existing globalised supply chain. So you need different logistics suppliers to enable the collection and delivery of these food products, and also for very importantly, for all the DEFRA regulations that need to be adhered to for the public money to be spent on is to ensure that they are indeed adhered to. So technically, commercially and operationally, quite a lot of change is required. Nevertheless, Crown Commercial Services are committed to undertaking this change across the whole of the UK. When we got wind that was going on, we began to engage with Crown Commercial Services and a bunch of national regulatory institutions that were associated with this change in buying behaviour. And in conjunction with colleagues, including like Tim Jones, we persuaded Crown Commercial Services of the South West Highland region with this new mechanism of buying. And as part of that, we set up a community interest company called the South West Food Hub, which would be the entity with which Crown Commercial Services would interact, and there is no kind of overarching food buying entity to represent the South West. So that, sorry, I apologise for how long that introduction is, but I think without that, most of what I'm going to say next will make a great deal of sense. As it says here, the pilot is now due, but we're still in stages of going to market for the technology systems and logistics providers. That's in its early stages of Crown Commercial Services, and it's out of hand, and we can do about that.
Can I just ask a question before we move on? So am I right in that you have to tender to provide this service against the Future Food Framework? Because it's about the contract in our information was 2019. or was it just given to you? I mean, what was the procurement process for you getting this?
For what?
For working with government's commercial services on this pilot.
Yeah.
Your Crown Commercial Services, sorry, and procuring.
There's no procurement, it's not being paid.
Okay, so I just wanted to understand the business model for it, whether under the Future Food Framework you've actually put in a contract bid to provide this service and we're being paid by the government to do it. So how do you get paid?
So,
And the website doesn't actually give any insight into the vision you have in your webinars.
Can we just say questions to the end of the
Yeah.
presentation?
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to answer.
It's just talking
Yeah,
about setting
that's
up.
why the most important comes part of this job.
Yeah, sure. Well, let's come back to that, because it is an important question. So the idea is that the platform should go live in 2022 in the Southwest. I alluded to this before, but it is all very important. On particularly, we'll know why it's important. Although if you talk to Treasury about food and the food industry, they would see it as pretty trivial, under 1% of the UK GDP, and something like that I'm not spending any time talking about. But if our food systems come under pressure, you can have unrest in the streets within days. So it's a bit short-sighted not to think in the long view about how our food system works. And I think the next 20 years are going to provide a great deal of pressure. So food security actually is, so in line of self-interest, is a very big part of changing the way we buy food. And the government, and although the £1.2 billion is a fairly large amount of money to be spent on, it's a very small amount of the total that is spent in the UK by the private consumer on food. So it's a question of leadership in a sense as well, showing how things can be done differently. But also, increasing awareness on problems and standards amongst people, which I think is really starting to improve in the last 10 years, but still has a long way to go. Also, in the procurement process, you can start to collect data, and one of the things that actually is really poor at the moment in the way that we spend money on food in the public purse is very good data about the impact that it has. So not only where does food come from, how is it sourced, what the environmental impacts of that food, we also don't know very much about what's done with the waste, what's the level of food waste, and what are the other environmental factors such as distribution costs and the energy of distribution and refrigeration, etc. But there's also an incredible dietary health burden that's been produced over the last 40 years. And in fact, there's a very important report which I recommend you all read if you've got the time. It's rather long, but it's just been published by Neil Parish's Select Committee, EFRA Select Committee, called Hungry for Change. And here, there's one stark fact where they call out our food system as being totally broken. And there's one stark fact in there. There is a recommended diet from the government, a healthy eating diet, which has been itemised in a lot of detail. And it's, if you follow this diet, you will lead a relatively healthy life. The bottom 10% of wealth in the UK, if they were to follow this diet, their food expenditure would go up by 80%. So we live in a world where people are basically forced to eat food that is going to make them sick. And that, as a cost to the National Health Service, is gigantic. But also, if instead of spending our money overseas on food supplies, we spent it with our regional farmers. And I think this is another really important point for this group. It bolsters your local economy. So, there have been studies done to say that for every £1 each you spend on the local food system, it creates £3 worth of value. So it's a 3-to-1 ratio of the impact of the local economy and redirecting food spend into the local economy. So if the buying power of the institutions of Exeter could have a tangible, measurable and celebratable impact on the local rural economy, I think that would be a very useful power to the relationship between city and countryside. And something that is, is up for debate, I suppose, but we did see so there has been a super early pilot of this process in Bath and North Somerset, where they ran, when they ran a technology procurement system, procuring food for Bath and North Somerset schools. And for that trial, they saw all of those other potential benefits and no increase in costs, and in some cases decrease in costs, which for a lot of people was counterintuitive. But it often is to do with what you're eating as much as the quality of the food itself. So what do we do? Well, one thing we're doing is we are maintaining local excitement with Crown Commercial Services to keep the pressure on for the project to happen. As you can imagine, the last 18 months have been challenging for all government departments, and I think there have been discussions about what projects should keep going and which projects shouldn't. And so I think it's been important that we kept the pressure and the excitement on central government to make sure this project goes ahead. And what we've been very heartened to see actually there is a great deal of central government understanding. I'd definitely say that the government is bifurcated in terms of its understanding of this. I think this trust is less on board with this mission than perhaps someone like mine could go, who was previously Deputy Minister. I think really does understand the importance of food's relationship to sustainability. So that's really important. However, and this will come back to Ron's question, once the system is in place, that's only the beginning of the story. Because if you have a system that gives you the opportunity to buy differently, it doesn't mean you will buy differently. And so there is a much longer term process of working with all the buying institutions, and this is the question really of providing political impetus. There's a process that will go on for years after that about setting targets and trying to move as much of the money spent locally into the local economy and measuring benefits and celebrating successes. And those are the two roles that are played by the South West Food Hub, which is distinct from the role of Crown Commercial Services, which is about delivering essentially a different operational system, and distinct from DEFRA's responsibilities, which are about policy frameworks. And those three things have to all happen together in order for the change I think we want to happen. But we think it's possible, and it's our ambition, that by 2026, so 2 years after the implementation, half the money that's spent in the pilot region could be spent in the local economy. Who we work with? Well, we have support from a number of organisations. We've received funding from the Department of South West Local Enterprise Partnership. We've received private sector funding from Francis Park, Stephen Scout, and Amsterdam Partners. We've received money from West of England, Combined Authority, that's right. And we also get a lot of support in kind from the National Farmers Union. And we have an advisory board, and this has been an important part of maintaining political pressure, which includes David Burton, the Lord Lieutenant, Richard Howard, who was the project lead of the Values Pilot. Carl Tucker, who is the chair of the Local Enterprise Partnership, Alex Stevens, who's the policy manager for NFU, and then Charlie and AJ Courtney, and they've all been really important in helping us in one way or another, making sure that this project remains live. And Rachel's already explained why this is important from the city point of view. It's only one part of the wider aspiration, which is great, fantastic wider aspiration that Rachel's talking about. But I think it's definitely a nucleus around which you can build other things. And so finally, what follow-on conversations we have, I think it's very important that we encourage our large buying institutions to be positive in participating in this project. These things can be difficult because they take a long time and people can lose focus. But also, I think in other, it's not just the food you buy from your own catering organisations. If you buy from catering organisations, which wouldn't fall into this framework, I think you should ask that question. Is it local? Has it been produced sustainably? So some of these questions can lead to difficult conversations with your procurement partners, because they might say, look, it's local and it costs more, and that's not correct for the public purse. And I think that we need to engage with those conversations. That's it for me. So any questions?
Thank you, Glenn, for a really interesting presentation. I think the question not just your own kind of purchasing, but also kind of what the council as we can do. And that's one of my questions in a second. But I'll probably start with Councillor Atkinson if you want to jump back in if you've got multiple answers.
Yeah, I just want to start on the business level. I think what I'm hearing from the end is to gain sponsorship from those organisations in different futures to develop a platform now. So I'm a bit premature in asking that, but you're not getting any money from government to do this, even though you're private, accepted by them.
Yes, so I mean we are bootstrapping that essentially. So we receive some funding, enough to get us going, but in the long term, what we believe is we will secure funding from either the local LEPs or from whatever replaces the local LEPs or from the central government or a combination of all of those. But we're in the next situation where we have enough funding to keep us going until the end of this year. But it's going to be hard to raise any more until we have some clarity from CCS about what they're doing timelines on exactly when programs will be put into place, and there's still a little bit of uncertainty around that.
You just want to say what a LEP is, because there are new councillors here.
Sorry, yeah, a LEP is a local enterprise partnership, is what it stands for, and they're regional things. So we have one for what's called the Heart of the Southwest, which is Devon and Sunset, and they are essentially there as conduits for central government funding for infrastructure. So building public buildings, hospitals, that sort of thing. But they do tend to have small strategic budgets as well.
Thank you. Councillor Pearce.
Well, thank you for your presentation, really thorough, really informative. It's great to hear that such work's going on here in Exeter and the wider South West. My question really is, I don't know, it might be a bit beyond the scope of what the project you're working on is, but everything you're describing to us comes from kind of the point of sale as the starting point, and then feeds back down eventually to the producers. Is there anything similar building up from the ground, working with farmers, cooperatives, something like that, to try and get around this elusive carrot supply problem that seems to be at the heart of everything?
Yeah, I mean, there are lots. What I didn't say before is that, as well as being a business owner in Exeter, I'm also a smallholder in Devon, and we also have a zero waste shop in North Hampstead, and are kind of very involved in the local food community. And so, for instance, we have Chagfood in Chagford, which is a smallholder cooperative, associated with vegetables, and I know it's in the scene in Exeter. So they're ground up but generally they work in line with consumers. We also have some great local farmers, who operate at a slightly larger scale, but including people like Riverfood, obviously at a national scale, and they all generally interact direct with what you might call kind of high-end line consumers. The problem comes where you've got people who buy at a much larger scale, and none of these commercial organisations have been able to take what would happen at the moment. If you want to supply a trust, an NHS trust, you have to take a whole contract, and it's just not possible for these food SMEs who are actually starting to find ways of operating differently and doing business differently. They just do not have the scale to access those contracts. So this technology platform is incredibly important. There's a lot of detail to this. It's incredibly important in breaking those contracts up. Not only so that Chillington Organics could provide beetroots during when beetroots are in season. That means you've got a time window for beetroot, and it's just beetroot. And of course, a trust not normally buy like that, but with technology you can break these things down so that your SMEs, because what you're asking them to do actually is take a risk on growing more, which they might they would be worried that it will go to waste. So they need to have some kind of certainty that they will get that contract fulfillment. So it's a complicated problem.
I have a question, and it's still kind of quite regional, and you're dealing with lots of big organisations, but as local council, is there anything we can do to support the cause of this project? Because it sounds like something we should be doing. I work in a school, and I think, is the school food that I'll be eating, because I do eat in the canteen every day, it definitely isn't sourced from local producers at the moment. I know that, it's got snacks over it on the lorries, but what can we do as local members to help this cause? Because it sounds like one that we should be definitely supporting.
At the point where it becomes an opportunity, so there are 2 points of influence for this particular project. There's the point where your buyers are asked to move onto the platform. So that would be Devon County Council's procurement team. And when it comes to crunch, they will find lots of reasons not to do it. And they'll be perfectly valid reasons. It's complicated, it requires change, we don't have the expertise, it introduces risk, all those sorts of things. We're busy with other stuff. So at that point, which will probably come in 12 to 18 months, we want to get as many people as possible providing pressure on those commercial decision-making points. And also, once it's been done, it's then to say, I'm still not seeing any difference in my food, but I know there can be. So, and I think that's where we're going to be working together much more closely, coming around to reach, as many of the different stakeholders as possible and see what change you see. How to make sure we see more change. So it's very strategic. It's going to be over a period of time. But what we want is to become more aware. You start thinking much more about that, and to be aware of when you might have the ability to influence what you're seeing.
Thank you. Councillor Atkinson.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, the last couple of decades, we've seen increasing privatisation of education. So basically, Devon County Council doesn't run very few schools these days, and so most schools in Exeter are actually run by private sector bodies called academies. So they are responsible for their own procurement of school dinners and food, etc. So your task is going to be made much harder because there's no bulk buying of food by schools, unless they join together to do it. So we need another mechanism in order to draw the academies together to join together to procure their food in a particular way. And then when it comes to this council...
Can I answer that question first? But I'm not ready.
Yeah, sure.
Smart questions. The point of the platform is that it essentially what it does is aggregates buying behaviour. only one platform and anyone can join it. Anyone from the public sector can join it. So anyone from MAS would be able to join that. And what I have found, talking about our own local map, is extremely progressive, very open to these sorts of things. And there's still primary schools in Devon. Most of the food came from primary schools done by Devon Council.
And just in terms of, sorry, my next point was going to be in terms of this council, obviously there's quite a few offices here, like cooking, like it's sandwiches, it used to be sandwiches at events like this and biscuits, tea and coffee. So we don't have a great sort of procurement thing like that. We're trying to have zero waste in terms of using your own parts and things like that. You're not throwing away stuff. So we don't have a great budget for procurement. So I just feel that we're not as an organisation can make a great difference to.
My understanding would be as elected representatives of different legislative, it would be, I think, a good challenge to use the more broadly than just the institution of the council itself, which use your influence to what is possible.
And I particularly would like to enjoy and use a microphone, sorry, just so we can hear you. Yeah.
Well, I was really grateful for Glenn rooting this work in the Net Zero Exeter plan. It is a continual struggle for me to be able to explain to members that we are doing things on a micro scale, but also focused on the strategic. And the strategic work takes a lot of capacity. And so it's very easy to focus in our organisation to how we purchase catering for this organisation. And yet, this hasn't come out of nothing. The work that we do, Glenn, I'm a director on Exeter Futures like Glenn. The relationship of our city to the wider Devon, the land management in Devon, the biodiversity in Devon, the way in which food is procured, and the way retailing is going to be organised within the high street, very much requires this kind of approach. And so, with the Net Zero plan, you have the opportunity, because it provides the architecture to progress initiatives. This is one component under the goal of sustainability. We have flagged the need to do this. We've also flagged, for example, under energy, the need to get to a constructive partnership with our local authority partners around renewable energy and the contribution to meeting our city's energy needs. So my view would be, any pitch we make in the central government on behalf of Exeter and the wider sub-region would have this as part of the ingredients. And so the ask of government is the procurement platform. But what we would like to do, from the high street perspective, is to systematically get the businesses in Exeter, from the likes of our supermarkets, right through the independent shops, to all understand the direction we are going, and to inform the citizens of the city how local produce is grown, and what Glenn is basically saying. You mentioned sort of enlightened purchasers. The challenge for us is to make everybody enlightened, and to connect their retail shop with the provenance of that food being grown very locally and the carbon footprint embedded in food, so you can make informed choices. So my view is what you're doing is helping us progress one of the key goals, and that's taken directly from the plan. Under Goal 6, we've said that.
Absolutely, and at that point, in particular about private sector buyers. What this project does is it breaks down barriers that allow buyers to connect with local produce at scale. So you've done it once, you can do it twice. So my hope would be the next stage of this project, whilst achieving it for private public sector buying, we then to move on to private sector buying within the city of Exeter.
Councillor Hannon. Thank you, Chair. Yes, I think it is right to say that even though we don't have a big procurement budget, and of course the main conduit of the County Council will be Devon North, and I think that would be the best inroad, because we still do run hundreds of schools, have hundreds of schools, so that is a large market in itself. But in terms of this council, I think we do have a key role
it may not be just about the sandwich and the coffee, but it is about influencing, leading and challenging. And I think, for example, the Exeter Food Festival, we've always been very heavily involved in that. That is always a good opportunity to showcase local producers and local caterers, etc., etc. But also the other ways, the Matford car boot sale, which I always think is very badly termed. I mean, that was always a good opportunity for local growers and producers to sell produce. I think that's why we've always backed the farmers market, particularly as well, to give a platform to local growers. And that's why I'm really 110% back in the initiative about the new market, which will be near Sidwell's Point. Because again, that's another opportunity throughout the week for local growers and producers to set out their stall literally. So I think it's just breaking that chain instead of getting your sweet from chili in Tesco's, which I confess I might do occasionally, is to get the seasonal sweet down at the farmers market. So I think we do have a very important role, particularly with Victoria's department as well, of leading and influencing and getting things forward. And I also think, Chair, and you will know this as well with your daytime role, I think another good way around maybe encouraging this is working with the children and the young people, because they have that, when we went and did the demonstrated dance cart in the schools, they actually police then their parents, didn't they, and set never challenge to look, Mum, you need to ask me to come from Australia or whatever, that is a good, so I think children and young people are also a good way into this agenda. But I wish you luck, and I'm sure this council and the other council that I sit on will back you. And if there are any ways to improve dialogue, please let us know.
Thank you, Kevin. I can't see any more hands up, so big thanks again. And yeah, I'm sure we'll come to each other again with all the other work that you do in partnership with the City Council. So thanks again. So the last item on the agenda is a presentation from John Street, our Project Manager for Democratic and Civic Support. And it's always nice to see John. He will just, I think, update us on where we're at with Scrutiny and probably nudge us a little bit as members. So over to you, John. I'm sure you'd very much like to stand and elect John, so yes, if you could stand elected, that would be nice to do.
Thank you, Chair. And I think presentation is probably a bit of a grand title for basically what would be a reminder about the role of scrutiny as per the current Council's constitution. Well, I think firstly, it's quite interesting to note that tonight we've probably covered a lot of the issues that scrutiny are here for anyway, with the public question from Mr. Cleesby, really good questions from councillors to portfolio holders, which is what part of the role of the executive, part of the role of scrutiny is to keep the executive to account. And then thirdly, a really interesting presentation from one partner organisation within the city that would help the council with a strategic goal and the questioning that you have towards that and how that will go forward. But I think before I get into what we're here for scrutiny itself, I've really got to start off by saying that the last year has been an obvious variance from the norm for any committee meetings, but particularly for scrutiny. Scrutiny has, over the last year, very early on in that, when the pandemic struck, decided that it would look at just COVID-related issues and how the council was responding to that and how the council could deliver its services still within that, rather than going into the more nitty-gritty details that scrutiny may well do on a bit more detail. That's particularly important, I think, at that time, because scrutiny was seen as something which could have been almost a backseat driver for the council, because obviously the portfolio holders, the executive and the officers were the ones that were operationally dealing with the day-to-day issues that COVID was dealing with. But the opportunity for all councillors to ask portfolio holders their responses to COVID requirements was a key element to keep everyone informed and the public informed of what was being dealt with in those particularly difficult times as well. Another thing I ought to mention is that the current scrutiny process or scrutiny structure was only approved in October 2019, so only 4 or 5 months before the COVID pandemic struck us. At that time, it was agreed that there would be a review after 1 year of the new operation. to see how the new 2 scrutiny committees, which have replaced the previous 3 scrutiny committees, were operating. The fact that we'd introduced public questions in a wider variety of opportunities than there had previously been the case. How that would be, a review would be undertaken. Obviously, again, that took a back seat when it came to October last year. But I heard the leader of the council at last week's executive request that that review actually be undertaken now and will be undertaken over the summer and will report back to the council in autumn of this year to see how things have progressed. So as I said at the beginning, there's just a reminder about the role of scrutiny in the current constitution. And I believe there are 3 distinct roles. The first, as we've already seen this evening, is to hold the executive and its portfolio holders to account and to answer questions on their particular spheres of responsibility within the council. The other 2 areas probably haven't been developed so much over the last 12 months or so, but that's to monitor budgets and performance of services, and also the assistance in the development of policy and review of effectiveness of existing policies and how they could be progressed better going forward. So again, something like the presentation we saw earlier could have an influence on that. Those details are set out on page 12 of your agenda today, together with 10 to 14, I think it is, of the agenda today, particularly the terms of scrutiny, the terms of the Scrutiny Programme Board, and then on page 12 are the specific terms of reference for this scrutiny committee. There are, as I've already alluded to, there are also 3 ways I believe that scrutiny can undertake its role. The first is quite a stick approach, I'd say, which is call-ins. Call-in is an opportunity where 7 councillors who are scrutiny members can ask for a decision of the executive to be reconsidered before it's enacted. So if it meets one of the various criteria that there are, such as policies haven't been followed or procedures haven't been followed correctly. So that's quite a stick approach. That's one which is been rarely used. I think Councillor Sills, I remember, sat with me when we undertook the call-in probably 2 years ago now, Councillor Sills, wasn't it? Just before the election in 2019, that would have been when, due to the circumstances, the timings, the council or the executive took the decision to close a number of public conveniences. The scrutiny members at that time felt that policy and procedure hadn't been followed correctly, and so there was a call-in, an opportunity for that decision to be reviewed by the scrutiny committee at that time and reviewed. So that's what I call almost a stick approach for scrutiny. The second one would be a proactive approach. There is, you'll probably see each month, or you will get to see if the new council haven't seen it yet, something comes out from one of my colleagues in the Demographic Services team called the Council's Forward Plan. That's a statutory requirement that we have to place to put forward all the decisions that the council, through its executive or other committees, with the exception of planning and licensing, all those decisions that will be taken over the next 3, 6, 12 months. And that gives all members the opportunity to consider those details or those questions, those matters coming further detail, but also request, if they so wish, for that matter to come to the scrutiny committee before it goes on to the executive committee for decision or for recommendation onto council. So it's an opportunity to get, as the terms of reference of scrutiny committee say, to get involved in almost policy procedures and policy processing and setting in the first instance. The third element, which we have seen over the last few months, is the involvement of, or the establishment of task and finish groups to look at task-specific matters. And over the last year or so, we've had ones which looked at the Bill of Statute, for example, and took on board various consultation processes and issues on that. There are a number of those. They can be set up for one-off events, or which we would call a spotlight review, where we look at a particular matter in just one meeting, or for a task and finish group, there would be a series of meetings which would undertake a review of the matter that was being considered, and then present that back to a scrutiny committee or back onto executive for that again to be considered as part of the decision-making process. I will say that all those requests for task and finish groups, and there are numerous of them that come forward over a year, all those task and finish group requests go to the Scrutiny Programme Board, which is made up of the chairs and deputy chairs of the 2 scrutiny committees, together with a non-executive member of the council as well, who will, alongside the Strategic Management Board, assess the requirements of the Task and Finish group against the council's corporate priorities, as well as the council's resources, to ensure that they meet those priorities and those resources, and that the council's ever diminishing resources or ever stretched resources are being placed in the most appropriate way and being stretched in the most appropriate way. And again, that will give the opportunity, as we saw from something with the Buller Statute Task and Finish group, the opportunity to bring in partner organisations for their views and their experience on these things as well. And in that latter respect about the Scrutiny Programme Board, I'm meeting with the Chair of the Board tomorrow together with the Director of Corporate Services to agree various procedures and processes which will be put to the Scrutiny Programme Board and the Chairs of Scrutiny to agree the way forward for that to be delivered in a more effective and an appropriate way going forward. So I did say as a very quick reminder, Chair, of the process of scrutiny, but you'll not be surprised to hear me say that I believe that scrutiny has a very important role to play in the Council's democratic process, and we will continue to build on it as well as learn good practice from other organisations to achieve this. I'm happy to take any questions or comments. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Street. Councillor Hannaford.
Thank you, Chair. I chaired the group that restructured the committees, and Exeter Wood vice chaired it. It seems like a million years ago now, doesn't it? But we were always under the impression that it would be under review, because there is always a danger when you pare down the scrutiny structures to two. Is it effective enough? Is it too narrow? You know, does it mean that not enough backbenchers are involved, etc.? So I welcome the delayed review because of the pandemic and the lockdowns and everything else. But I do think we need to reboot scrutiny at the City Council. I will be frank and say I have worried sometimes when we see one-item agendas coming out, and like, for example, tonight, the questions that were put down are very good, but I'm also very conscious that you often have portfolio holders sat in a meeting where there's no interaction, no questions, because only they've only gone into certain members. I know that there's a tradition, because I have to do it myself, of sitting in on meetings that you were responsible to, even if you weren't speaking, simply to listen to the views of the members and get a flavour of their views, even, you know, which is right. But I do think, in my view, scrutiny should be a sort of three-layered approach. The top layer is the things that come back throughout the year annually that are regularly reported back, like outturn figures and that sort of thing. Then the middle part is the forward plan, which should be based on the forward plan, and then there should be some flexibility within the agenda to respond to events, and it should be, I think, in that order. And I'm and with the pandemic and everything else that's going on, I just think we need to, as John Street said, take a back step and relook at that again to make sure that that is happening, because at the end of the day, the administration is only as good as the scrutiny it's being given, and also I'm sure portfolios at the back will understand, it's using scrutiny as a resource to say, right, we have this difficult problem, controversial problem, like the Buller Statute, therefore, you know, as part of the public consultation and the work that I'm doing, throwing it over to scrutiny and letting them have a look at it and then coming back again. And I'm not again sure that we're doing enough of that as well. So I certainly welcome the review and the reboots. But to be frank, there's no criticism. I hope now to see future agendas that will have not an overloaded agenda, but maybe a couple more just to make sure that we're covering. I'm very conscious I'm sat next to the other scrutiny chair, so as well here, I'm a rose between two thorns, maybe, or a thorn between two roses, is that I just think we need to reboot it and make sure that we're doing the job, not only from a scrutinising point of view, but as you know, supporting in a way the administration is a critical friend. Thank you, Chair.
Well, I mean, I must admit, I'm sure Councillor Vizard is another chair scrutiny, but we also agree that it's frustrating for us as well. And we are, you know, John, you might be able to give us a bit of context to this. I believe that a local authority that neighbours us almost has gone through a similar process. And it took them quite a while to adjust to this new system. So, for context for members that have just joined our authority, previously had done a pre-scrutiny programme where essentially we would be given items to discuss that we're going forward to executive in the next meeting, and we would scrutinise it and recommend to executive. That is now reversed. We now have to be far more proactive, as John said, looking for a plan and bring things to our agenda, which requires members to do the work and to bring stuff to the scrutiny programme board and say, we want to discuss this. Or we have to be, as John said, a bit kind of heavy-handed and say to the executive, you've done something procedurally wrong, which normally doesn't happen. So it's quite hard to fill an agenda based on events that are going on in the day or at the time, because something procedurally has to have gone wrong, or new facts would have had to have arisen. So it is much more of a burden on members to bring items forward, look at a forward plan, and I think we probably struggled with that with the pandemic as well. A bit more context about how other authorities have dealt with this transition.
Yeah, the authority you referred to, Chair, is another authority in Devon which undertook a similar role or similar review of its scrutiny process probably 3 or 4 years ago now, and are only just, or the last time I spoke to them, which was probably 6 or 9 months ago, were only just getting to the point where they felt that scrutiny was getting back to be the critical friend that Councillor Hansford refers to. You're quite right, Councillor Stills, that the way that the scrutiny worked beforehand was very much a proactive approach, in that it was helping the executive look at the agenda items that were coming forward, but it was also placing an awfully long period of decision making into that decision making, because the matters had to go through scrutiny first, and then had to go to the executive, and if there was a call in there, it would go back again. And to be fair, there was little that was added at the executive from what the scrutiny put forward. I think Councillor Wood was and Councillor Hanford, you've been portfolio holders in that process as well, haven't you? What we're trying to do now is to make it more make it more inclusive as well, as sort of thing, is that the councillors that are all here, there are 28 members on the scrutiny committee, but there's only 10 on the executive. So there's 28, 39 members are involved in the scrutiny process to make sure the policy processes, budgets, etc. are scrutinised, are managed as they should be, and to keep the executive to task as well. So yes, there was another council, yes, they took a long time to get that process right. We've had that factor of the COVID get in the way as well for the last 15 months or so, which has really stuck everything that we planned right from the beginning. Hopefully now we're coming out of that. Hopefully now with the new process that we're going to be putting in through the Scrutiny Programme Board, hopefully now with the review that will come out to tweak what we've actually done so far. I don't think we should forget though that we're now in a much stronger position, I feel, for public participation in meetings. You know, we've had Mr. Cleasley as one of our regular contributors to our meetings, which was always very good to see. And I wish, in some ways, I wish more of our resident friends would come along and to help take that opportunity as well. But we've now got opportunities for members of the public to speak at executive. We've now got members of the public to speak at council, which weren't there beforehand. So there is that opportunity now to engage with the 39 elected members that there weren't there beforehand. And that's, I think, is something which we should try and encourage, and hopefully with our broadcasting of all these meetings as well. We do get a number of viewers, and hopefully one day those viewers will come along and take Mr. Cleasley's lead and ask a question.
Yeah, I totally agree. It adds a certain kind of vibrancy to a council meeting when you have members of the public turn up and ask questions, elected members, and it's really important. There's a mechanism that I think we're really proud of, and we've had lots of people come actually since it's been introduced. But yeah, this will take time. But members do need to start suggesting things to go on the agenda. Essentially, that's the bottom line. If you have an issue you want to bring forward, I'm sure there'll be a performer coming out to you soon, I believe. Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Chair. Can I ask John Street how the number 7 is decided in terms of committee members calling something in? Obviously, as a minority member of our political structure, and having such a huge majority in terms of the Labour Party on the council, and Labour Party making decisions at Executive, it feels that I'm not sure how I would be able to ever call something in, because people obviously don't always go along party lines. It might be that sometimes councillors make a decision which is different to what other councillors do at Executive, but ultimately often they may. So I guess in terms of how how I would be, I can't see that unless the Labour group it was something very controversial, that I or other minority group council would be able to call something in.
That's a good question, but it's not one which is insurmountable. It can be any 7 scrutiny members. So any 7 scrutiny members. It doesn't have to be from one specific scrutiny committee. It can be from any 7 scrutiny members. So as I say, we've got 28 scrutiny members, of which all 11 opposition members at the moment sit on scrutiny. So as long as there are 7 members from scrutiny, any 7 scrutiny members can come forward and ask for a call-in. Yet again, there's another pro forma that needs to be done, and there are certain criteria which need to be met, which are in the Constitution. But it's any 7 scrutiny members.
Thank you.
Councillor Atkinson.
I just wanted to ask, while we've got those chairs here, whether you think that the scrutiny board arrangement is working well. Because my perception as a member is that there is a possible disconnect between members of the scrutiny committees and the work plan, that it's sort of abdicated. As far as I remember, we haven't had a conversation at this meeting about what members think should feed into that. Is that right? And could that be an improvement in it? And if you go on to it, obviously it does say the source of all these things, which are minutes of the executive or minutes of the council, and a suggestion made at the, I think, at the scrutiny domestic. I made a suggestion, I think, at that. So just a bit of a discussion about whether you think that's working, so that members feel they own the scrutiny here.
Yeah, so I can speak as chair of this committee. I'm not sure if councillors have wishes to speak, of course you can. The scrutiny programme board is really kind of checks and balances on the stuff that comes in from members. The issue we've had is we haven't had many formal suggestions of things to discuss. I don't actually think, John, we certainly don't want to discuss anything, have we, from memory in the scrutiny programme board.
I think everything's still on the agenda at the moment, and again, we're going through that process to ensure that the numerous requests that come forward do meet corporate priority, can be delivered, is something that we can help with, and also we have the resources within the organisation as a whole to deliver it, because as you can imagine, there are many, I'm sure the Deputy Chief Executive behind me will agree, there are many calls upon the Council's staffing resources which need to be ensured that they are what's being requested actually deliver something at the end of the day and add value. So nothing's been turned down as yet. Nothing's been formally pushed forward too much either, apart from some of the task and finish groups which have come forward. So there has been some action come forward already. But again, the pro forma which will be coming out will be specific, a lot more specific, asking what the councillor is suggesting is trying to achieve, and what sort of timescale we'll be expecting for it, and all those other bits and pieces as well.
Yeah, no, I'd agree, John. I would just say I think this is a process that needs to be worked through, and members have been asked previously from democratic services to submit ideas, and they have.
Okay, could we have it as a standing item on the agenda, work plan ideas?
The problem is I don't feel that we should be using a public meeting I hate meetings, discussing meetings. We have that as a scrutiny programme board. I don't think the purpose of this committee is to discuss what this committee should discuss. I think the process that John will be sending out as in this week will be, if you have something you wish to discuss, you fill in a form that goes to the scrutiny programme board to be decided. And that's what the standing orders suggest.
Well, if I
practice come up? It's just a discussion about ideas. You've asked, I as a member, I could put forward my ideas anyway. Wouldn't it be better to be open and transparent and say, well, what members here? It's just a discussion. It then goes forward to the board, who's then deciding, as John said, whether we've got resources or whatever, and how that fits in with the corporate plan to progress it. It's just a way of engaging members of this committee with ongoing work plan discussions.
Yeah, I'm reminded not to do that because, again, those discussions can happen outside of a committee meeting. This is a committee meeting. If you want to have a meeting with councillors about what to put on the agenda, you can do that. Councillor Vizon?
Thank you. Yeah, and what I would say to Councillor Atkinson is that I've heard you. I think one of the problems has been the COVID pandemic, and therefore everything's sort of ground to a halt. We did scrutiny in different ways. You know, I think things will improve in that respect. I think you're right. I think we've got a bit of a backlog of issues to deal with. I'm very happy. I certainly recall that I have, and I'm sure Councillor Sills has as well, at the scrutiny meeting, invited members of that committee to raise anything they would like me to take back to the scrutiny programme board, as well as issues. So I'm very happy for us to discuss it at the scrutiny programme board, the point you've raised, and also to take on board that over the coming months, perhaps we can feedback the discussions we've had at the scrutiny programme board within reason. I think I agree with Councillor Sills, we shouldn't be having lengthy discussions about that in the public meeting, but to give you an update perhaps on the schedule of some of the issues you wanted to discuss so that we feed back to the two committees. So, yeah.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to say it, John, so just have to brace yourself for it, but I also want to talk about the resources issue, because I know as a council we have to make millions of pounds of more cuts, so I'm caveating my comments with that, but I do think I would like you or somebody to see if there was any possibility of ensuring that scrutiny is adequately resourced. I'm not saying it isn't. All the work that our officers do at the moment is excellent, because it always is. But I'm just thinking ahead a bit more. If we then get into the more sort of proactive, settled state where members are sharing tasks and finished groups and spotlight reviews, etc., that will have resource implications. And I just want to put it to you that, you know, should we hopefully get back in that more proactive situation, and I manage this in another way somewhere else with a big committee, so I know what it's like if I have members popping up all the time saying planning tasks and finished group on all sorts. I have to say no, not at the moment. But nevertheless, there should be some on a very regular basis. Maybe we can say now that wouldn't be an issue at the moment, but if it is, and we need to, through this committee and the other scrutiny committee, go back to Exeter and others to say, you know, we need a bit more resources, you know, for scrutiny. I think we need to have that conversation, because otherwise, that's another. Not only do we have the structural and practical barriers to doing what we need to do, then we have the potentially resource barriers to doing it. Johnson.
I think to coin Councillor Vizard's words, I've heard you. But I also want to say it's not just resources within democratic services I'm talking about, it's resources across the whole organisation. We did have a dedicated part-time scrutiny programme officer a couple of years ago, but at that time, another time when savings hadn't been made, it was deemed that that wasn't as appropriate as some of the frontline services that may be supporting at that time. But there are, you know, it's not just within democratic services, it's across the whole board as well, and members and officers, senior officers' times as well. We'll go back to Councillor Atkinson's point as well. There is also an opportunity within standing orders that if a councillor wishes an item to be placed on the scrutiny committee, they can do so, provided sufficient timescale has been given to me to place that item on the scrutiny committee. So there is that opportunity as well as the other ones that we've talked about.
Thank you, John. Councillor Atkinson.
Yes, I said you've heard what I've said about having a discussion here, but I think it would be good practice if every meeting we could have a reminder of what the scrutiny work plan is that's been agreed by the strategic programme or the scrutiny programme is called. So I've just been through the last 6 months and that's never been placed on the agenda. So
we're not, as members here, thinking proactively about scrutiny. We're not engaging with the board's work plan at every meeting. So even if we have no discussion, I think it should be a standing item on the agenda, a reminder to all members of what's coming up, what's been agreed going forward. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that would be something that we are intending to do. Again, the last 15 months has been very much COVID related, and I hate to keep using the COVID excuse, but it's been very much along those lines. The reason it's not much coming out of the Scrutiny Programme Board is because the Scrutiny Programme Board, with the exception of the 2 or 3 task and finish groups that have been agreed in the last 12 months, have been considering the way scrutiny should progress, have been considering the best way forward for scrutiny, but also bearing in mind the implications of all the other requests that have come forward today. So, Councillor Atkinson, I think, again, that will be something that will be on the end of an agenda each and every time, in time. So.
Yeah, just to reiterate, the scrutiny programme really has been operational, I would say, in the last 15 months in dealing with the COVID pandemic and working our way forward. And just to say again, nothing anyone has suggested has been kicked into the long grass. It's been brought to a committee meeting. So, yeah, it's a very kind of operational procedural board. But we would very much like, I think John's message here is, please start to consider what you're about to bring to scrutiny and fill the forms in, and you know, it's highly likely that they'll be discussed. It might be that they'll be discussed at a later date, but yeah, we really do want members to engage in the process. I would say the public have done that exceptionally well in terms of, you know, attendance of scrutiny committee meetings and writing questions in. Members probably now need to engage a little bit more, and we can use the pandemic as an excuse, I think, because we weren't functioning as a scrutiny committee for about a year. Really, we had a different setup. I can't see any more questions. So I thank John for his time. Any last announcements? No? Thank you very much. And that does draw this evening's meeting to a close. Please do kind of think about suggestions to bring forward. I think we'll get an email from Democratic Service in due course with details of how to suggest items on the agenda. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you in September.